The architecture used in clextra is a question people ask, and uh, it's difficult to answer that because it's evolved over the last 15, 16 years since 2002, 2003. So there was an original design in terms of it being an executive dashboard, CXO dashboard. So that's where the original design was. But then it went into tactical and operational details of organizations. So, in a nutshell, it's neither agile, it's not Scrum, nor Waterfall. I'm assuming anyone familiar with technology architecture is familiar with Agile, Scrum, Waterfall. So, it does not follow any of those methods, nor do we follow too much of function point analysis or any of these other FPA ways and means of building architecture. Um, the one aspect that we have looked at is we have constantly built it around test data. So it's a very unique approach in that the software has always been developed with data. So it's an interesting new and different approach. So there's always data. There's a analytical function to it from day zero in terms of the design. So you have the data, and then you're building the software around that. So that's unique. So in one sense, it's we would liken the approach they're taken closest to an amoeba. That's why we are calling it an amoeba architecture. So there's a nucleus. The nucleus being the data or the information or the content, whether it's a financial ledger or the sensors in a kiosk. So we look at the data first, and around the data, the software has been built. And all these modules have evolved around this central thing. So if an enterprise has to run a business, uh, financial accounting, invoicing, billing, those will be the core components. But then what are you invoicing? You're invoicing either services or parts. And what about the parts? The parts are inventory, which can be parts, which can be work in progress, finished goods, there'll be wastage. You're trying to recover money from the wastage or obsolescence from the inventory. So the whole thing is integrated. So what you do is the core activity, the nucleus of the amoeba. Now we have grown in different directions because of customer demand, because of different verticals and horizontals. So let's look at some of the line by line features that make this an amoeba like architecture rather than a waterfall or a scrum or an agile. So it's sustainability, it's not just scale. Size does matter. So to survive, thrive, and compete, we have better features and quality in terms of we've been constantly evolving with the tech since 2003. It has always been browser based, cloud based. So uh, this gives it better survivability over the next 5 years, 10 years. We're very confident about the future in terms of whatever comes up in the market. For example, right now we're working on integrating with AI and other techniques. Originally, it's Unix based, so it's not based on any uh, proprietary architecture, proprietary operating systems. So the roots, as I mentioned, are in the nucleus, and then how do you build around it. So we have been able to add nurture IoT connectivity, storage, IO computing bandwidth as needed to this model. So we can scale very quickly, easily. And because of this approach, yes, we do have legacy issues. There are certain things which we're constantly upgrading, improving upon, because what we had, but those would be more at a unit level, not at a macro level. So we're able to expand in different directions. So it quickly allows us to think design thinking, systems thinking in terms of how we evolve this going forward. So again, answers about ecosystems, environment, the market industry, the direction we take, all that is built into the core design and architecture of how we're approaching this. Okay. Other interesting aspect of this is that also we can evolve if certain technology, we absorb certain technologies, and if the technology is not effective or it drops out of the market or there's a new technology, we are quickly able to replace those components because of this approach. But at the same time, all parts are essential. I mean, I've discussed this earlier in other uh, videos where you approach this as a frog-like system or a bicycle-like system. In a bicycle-like system, you can replace any part, any component, and the whole will get better than the earlier. Whereas if it's a frog-like system, you cannot take out any one bit. You cannot improve any small functionality of the frog without touching upon every other aspect of it. So amoeba is also being a living organism. It's the same approach. So we don't sell our product as silos. Or can't you sell only one module? Can you package it? So you cannot package one corner of an amoeba or one part of it and give you just that. So approach to sales and supplies has been pay only for what you use and use only what you pay for. So you're getting the whole amoeba, but you pay only for the component that you are using at any given time. But the advantage is you're getting the whole thing, so you'll be able to move vertically, horizontally, expand, scale down, scale up as you need, more based on commercial need rather than functionality and usage. Uh, and like an amoeba, we wouldn't claim to have the complexity of an amoeba, but we do have a variety of integration components, not just hardware, software. It works very closely with the operating system. It is if we can absorb uh, variance based on biases that come up in AI type programming. And so our whole approach has been that the whole thing has to be taken as such. Everything else we can configure based on commercial and practical real world needs. So that in a nutshell is what we would call an amoeba architecture, which is not like your agile, SCRUM, Waterfall, or other architectures used for IT architecture.